cancer came back. It's two small tumors that's in the lungs. It's a small tumor on the vocal cord.
Motown has brought us some of the most iconic hit songs ever and launched the careers of countless stars. Unfortunately, many of these Motown legends led very tragic lives, too. Many of the label's most powerful vocalists endured immense hardships before making it big, and for some, the tragedies continued even after they became famous. From singers in abusive relationships with multiple superstars to the horrifying death of Marvin Gaye at the hands of his father, let's delve into the heartbreaking real-life stories of some of Motown's biggest stars. Mary Wells. First on our list is the heartbreaking story of Mary Wells, the queen of Motown, whose life was a blend of triumph and tragedy. Born in 1943 in Detroit, Mary Wells endured a challenging childhood. Her father was absent, and her mother struggled to support the family. At just 3 years old, Wells was struck by spinal meningitis, leaving her temporarily paralyzed and requiring her to learn to walk again. Despite these early hardships, Wells found comfort and joy in singing. By the age of 10, she was performing in church and at local clubs. At 16, Wells had a chance meeting with an assistant to Berry Gordy Jr., the founder of Motown Records. She initially presented a song she had written for Jackie Wilson, but instead, Wells ended up recording it herself. The song, Bye Bye Baby, became a hit, catapulting her into the spotlight. Wells's collaboration with Smokey Robinson proved to be a fruitful partnership, resulting in a series of hits. Among these was the iconic My Guy, which became Motown's first #1 pop hit. Wells' success solidified her place as a pivotal figure in Motown's rise to prominence, but her personal life remained fraught with challenges. Mary Wells faced significant personal challenges that marred her life. At 17, she married backup singer Herman Griffin, but the relationship was fraught with difficulties. Griffin pressured her into having 2 abortions for the sake of her career, which ultimately led to their divorce just 2 years later. In 1964, Wells made headlines by suing Motown, claiming she had nothing to show for her success. Leaving the label, she signed a large contract with 20th Century Fox, which promised movie roles and records. However, these promises were never fulfilled, and Wells's career struggled. Rumors swirled that Berry Gordy had blacklisted her, quietly discouraging radio stations from playing her new music. In 1966, Wells married Cecil Womack and had 3 children, but their relationship was also troubled by infidelity. She had an affair with Cecil's brother, Curtis, which led to immense guilt and a suicide attempt in 1977. After divorcing Cecil, she moved in with Curtis, and they had a child together. By 1978, Wells had turned to drugs and struggled with addiction for years. She only stopped when she became pregnant with her daughter, Sugar. In 1990, after completing rehab, she was diagnosed with cancer of the larynx, which later spread to her lungs. With no health insurance, Wells faced immense financial difficulties. Friends and colleagues, including Bruce Springsteen, raised over $150,000 for her treatment. Despite the painful treatments, including radiation therapy and a tracheotomy, Wells remained resilient. She died on July 26, 1992, at the age of 49. Her daughter Stacy recalled that Wells never complained but cried because she could no longer sing, marking the tragic end of a star whose life was filled with both extraordinary talent and heartbreaking adversity. Tammi Terrell. Next on our list is Tammi Terrell, whose life was a poignant mix of incredible highs and devastating lows. Terrell was one of Motown's brightest stars in the 1960s, known for her unforgettable duets with Marvin Gaye. Songs like Ain't No Mountain High Enough and You're All I Need to Get By showcased her powerful voice and charismatic presence, solidifying her place in music history. Terrell's career began early, recording for Scepter Wand Records as a teenager and performing with James Brown's live show. Her immense talent quickly caught the attention of Motown, and she signed with the label in 1965. Terrell rapidly rose to stardom, captivating audiences with her vocal prowess and magnetic charm. However, behind the scenes, her personal life was filled with tragedy and abuse. She endured violent relationships with both James Brown and David Ruffin. Brown's physical abuse left her bleeding and battered, while Ruffin's deceit and violence compounded her suffering. Ruffin, a member of the Temptations, was known for his tumultuous behavior, and his relationship with Terrell was no exception. His actions left deep emotional and physical scars on Terrell, adding to the challenges she faced in her career and personal life. Despite her personal struggles, Tammi Terrell continued to shine professionally, but her health began to deteriorate rapidly. Throughout her life, she suffered from severe migraines and headaches, which became increasingly debilitating. On October 14, 1967, during a performance of Your Precious Love with Marvin Gaye, Terrell collapsed on stage. The incident marked the beginning of a harrowing chapter in her life. Doctors soon diagnosed her with a malignant brain tumor, a devastating blow that would alter her life and career forever. Over the following years, Terrell underwent multiple surgeries in a desperate attempt to combat the tumor, but her condition only worsened. By 1969, her health had deteriorated to the point where she was unable to perform or record. She became confined to a wheelchair, grappling with blindness and significant weight loss. Despite these overwhelming challenges, Terrell made a final memorable public appearance at the Apollo Theater. On stage with Gaye, she performed You're All I Need to Get By, a poignant moment that moved the audience to tears and highlighted the deep connection between the two artists. As her health continued to decline, Terrell's situation grew more dire. After her 8th surgery in January 1970, she fell into a coma from which she would not recover. Tammi Terrell passed away on March 16, 1970, just a month shy of her 25th birthday. Her funeral took place at the James Methodist Church in Philadelphia, where the community gathered to mourn her loss. Marvin Gaye, profoundly affected by the death of his friend and collaborator, delivered a heartfelt eulogy, reflecting on the deep bond they had shared and the impact of Terrell's untimely death on both him and the music world. Terrell's story remains a powerful reminder of the extraordinary talent that was cut short and the personal battles that many artists face behind the scenes. Her legacy lives on through her music, which continues to resonate with fans and celebrate her remarkable contributions to Motown and the world of music. Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye's life story is one of remarkable talent overshadowed by profound personal tragedy. Born Marvin Pence Gaye Jr. on April 2, 1939, in Washington, D.C., Gaye grew up under the strict rule of his preacher father. The harshness of his upbringing contrasted sharply with the solace he found in music. His early experiences with gospel music in his father's church laid the groundwork for a transition to the vibrant worlds of R&B and doo-wop during the 1950s, setting the stage for a career that would leave an indelible mark on the music industry. Gaye's breakthrough came in 1961 when Berry Gordy Jr., the founder of Motown Records, recognized his exceptional talent. Initially, Gaye worked as a background singer and drummer for prominent Motown acts like the Supremes and Stevie Wonder. His unique voice and charismatic presence soon propelled him into the spotlight with memorable hits such as Hitchhike and How Sweet It Is to Be Loved by You. His collaborations with Tammi Terrell, particularly the iconic Ain't No Mountain High Enough, became timeless classics and solidified his status as a major artist. However, the late 1960s brought significant changes and challenges to Gaye's life. The civil rights movement and the Vietnam War deeply affected him, and the personal loss of Tammi Terrell only compounded his emotional strain. His troubled marriage and struggles with substance abuse further contributed to his growing sense of despair. This tumultuous period of his life profoundly influenced his music, leading to the creation of the groundbreaking album, What's Going On? Released in 1971, the album addressed pressing social issues such as civil rights, police brutality, and the Vietnam War, redefining protest music within the R&B genre and reflecting Gaye's profound personal and social concerns. Despite Marvin Gaye's musical success, his personal life was fraught with turmoil and strife. By the early 1980s, overwhelmed by substance abuse and financial difficulties, Gaye sought refuge in Belgium. He hoped that the tranquil environment would provide the peace he desperately needed. However, upon returning to the United States, Gaye experienced a significant resurgence in his career with the release of Midnight Love in 1982. The album featured the hit single Sexual Healing, which not only revitalized his career, but also earned him his first Grammy Awards, marking a momentous achievement in his professional life. Tragically, Gaye's life was cut short in a violent and heartbreaking manner. On April 1, 1984, just one day before his 45th birthday, Gaye intervened in a confrontation between his parents at their Los Angeles home. During the altercation, a physical struggle ensued between Gaye and his father, Marvin Gaye Sr. In a moment of devastating violence, Marvin Gaye Sr. shot his son twice. The gunshot to the chest proved fatal. Gaye was pronounced dead at 1:01 p.m. at California Hospital Medical Center. Following his death, Gaye's funeral was held and his body was cremated. His ashes were scattered into the Pacific Ocean, honoring his deep connection to the music and the world he left behind. Marvin Gaye Sr. faced legal consequences for his actions. Initially charged with first-degree murder, the charges were later reduced to voluntary manslaughter after a diagnosis of a brain tumor. He was sentenced to a suspended 6-year prison term and placed on probation. Marvin Gaye Sr. passed away in a nursing home in 1998, leaving behind a legacy marred by both his son's tragic death and his own legal troubles. Jamerson. Next, we turn our attention to Jamerson, a Motown legend whose profound influence on modern music is both significant and often overlooked. Jamerson, the iconic bassist for Motown Records, is widely regarded as one of the most influential musicians of all time. In 2020, Rolling Stone named him the greatest bass guitarist ever, and his remarkable contributions were recognized with an induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2000. Despite these accolades, Jamerson's journey to posthumous acclaim was marred by years of being uncredited and underappreciated during his lifetime. Jamerson's bass lines were the driving force behind countless Motown hits, including enduring classics like Bernadette, My Girl, I'm Wondering, and What's Going On. His innovative playing style and groove were pivotal to the sound of Motown, yet he remained largely unsung in the public eye. Throughout his career, Jamerson collaborated with some of Motown's biggest stars, such as Diana Ross, Marvin Gaye, The Temptations, and Stevie Wonder. Despite working alongside these high-profile artists, Jamerson's name often went unrecognized, and his contributions were not fully acknowledged. Life at Motown proved challenging for Jamerson, whose contributions, despite being crucial to the label's success, often went unrecognized. The studio-based nature of his work meant he missed out on the more lucrative opportunity of touring. To supplement his income, Jamerson frequently took on additional gigs. His marginalization was so severe that he wasn't even invited to perform at Motown's 25th anniversary concert. Instead, he had to buy a ticket from a scalper just to watch the event from the bleachers. Jamerson's personal life was fraught with difficulties as well. He endured poor health throughout his life, a consequence of a childhood bicycle accident that left him with a limp. His condition worsened over time, and in 1981, an attempted mugging resulted in a severed artery in his right arm. This injury impaired his playing ability, affecting his once celebrated touch. Tragically, Jamerson's life ended on August 2, 1983, at the age of 47. He succumbed to pneumonia, cirrhosis of the liver, and heart failure. By then, he had been struggling with alcoholism and had been out of work for nearly 2 decades. To compound his misfortunes, his prized 1962 Fender Precision bass, known as the Funk Machine, was stolen shortly before his death and has never been recovered. Despite the numerous challenges and hardships he faced, Jamerson's impact on music remains profound. His innovative bass lines continue to resonate through the decades, cementing his legacy as a pivotal figure in the history of Motown and beyond. Paul Williams. Paul Williams, a founding member and the original lead singer of The Temptations, played a crucial role in the group's rise to fame with iconic hits like My Girl. Despite his professional success, Williams' life was overshadowed by personal struggles and health issues that ultimately led to his tragic demise. Williams was plagued by sickle cell anemia, a condition that caused frequent health problems and forced him to take on fewer lead vocal duties. The combination of his chronic illness and the relentless demands of constant touring contributed to the development of alcoholism. Despite numerous interventions, including having doctors on standby during performances, Williams's condition continued to deteriorate. By 1971, his declining health forced him to retire from touring. Although he remained on the Temptations' payroll as an advisor and choreographer, receiving a share of the group's royalties, his health issues prevented him from fully participating in the group's activities. In 1973, Williams attempted to launch a solo career but faced rejection from record labels, which exacerbated his downward spiral. Later that year, Williams was found dead in a parked car from a gunshot wound to the head. The death was officially ruled as self-inflicted, but the circumstances surrounding his demise sparked suspicions of foul play. His bandmates had noted his struggles with self-harm in the months leading up to his death, making the self-harm theory a plausible explanation. However, the police investigation and coroner's report raised questions about the official ruling. The gunshot wound's unusual trajectory, from his right hand to the left side of his head, along with the presence of a fired gun with no extra bullet holes and a bottle of alcohol on his left side, suggested something amiss. Despite these discrepancies, the case was never reopened. Paul Williams's tragic death underscores the profound effects of mental and physical health issues, particularly when exacerbated by inadequate health care for musicians. The music industry often prioritizes contracts over employment benefits, leaving many artists without access to crucial health services. Florence Ballard. Next on our list is the poignant story of Florence Ballard, whose life and career were marked by both extraordinary success and tragic downfall. Florence, born on June 30, 1943, in Detroit, Michigan, was a founding member of the Supremes, a group that dominated the 1960s with a string of chart-topping hits. Known affectionately as Flo, she grew up in a large family facing financial hardships. Her remarkable voice was evident from a young age, catching the eye of future Supremes member Mary Wilson during a talent show in 1958. In 1960, Ballard joined the Primettes, a sister group to the Primes, which later became the Temptations. She invited Wilson and Diana Ross to join her, and together they formed the Supremes. Although they initially struggled, their fortunes changed when they signed with Motown in 1961. Under Berry Gordy's guidance, the group transformed from an underperforming act into a pop sensation. Despite her significant contributions, Florence's powerful vocals were often overshadowed by Diana Ross, whom Gordy selected as the lead of the group. Ballard's voice was prominent on early tracks like Buttered Popcorn and Ain't That Good News, but her dissatisfaction with her diminishing role grew. The demanding schedule and internal strife within the Supremes, particularly her strained relationship with Diana Ross, took a severe toll on Florence Ballard. The mounting pressure and personal conflicts led to an increasing dependence on alcohol. By 1967, the group's name was changed to Diana Ross and the Supremes, a move that underscored the growing divide and Florence's diminishing role. Florence's behavior became increasingly erratic, making her departure from the group almost inevitable. In 1968, she signed a solo contract with ABC Records, but her attempt at a solo career struggled to gain traction. Her financial difficulties deepened, and she worried about her health and her ability to provide for her family. In 1975, Florence made a bid for a comeback, performing live for the first time in 5 years. Although her performance was met with affection from fans, it was not enough to restore her former glory. Tragically, on February 22, 1976, Florence Ballard passed away from a coronary thrombosis at the young age of 32. The DeBarge Family. If you grew up during the 1980s, you might fondly recall the musically talented DeBarge siblings. Their harmonious sound and catchy hits are likely tucked away in the nostalgic corners of your memory. The DeBarge musical legacy began with brothers Tommy and Bobby, who formed the funk group Switch. Building on this foundation, the immensely popular group DeBarge emerged, initially consisting of siblings Elle, Bunny, Marty, and Randy. They were later joined by brothers James and Bobby. An eighth sibling, Chico, also made a name for himself as a solo artist, contributing to the broader DeBarge family constellation. Their peak success came with the 1985 hit Rhythm of the Night, which was featured in the film The Last Dragon. This song became an anthem of the era and solidified their place in music history. However, behind the scenes, the DeBarge family faced significant turmoil. Behind the DeBarge family's musical success lay a story of profound pain and trauma. According to their mother, Ederline, the DeBarge siblings inherited their musical talent from their grandfather, a choir director. However, their father, Robert DeBarge Sr., cast a dark and oppressive shadow over their lives. Ederline described Robert as insanely jealous and abusive, demanding she avoid anything that might attract other men and keep her continuously pregnant. The children recounted horrific memories of their father, with Chico DeBarge revealing that Robert sexually molested many of them. Bobby reportedly bore the brunt of this abuse, and all the siblings suffered deeply. Bunny attributed their professional and personal struggles to the trauma they endured as children. Elle DeBarge, often compared to Michael Jackson for his high-pitched voice and Motown success, faced his own battles. Berry Gordy saw Elle as a budding solo artist, but the prospect of separating from his siblings caused friction. Despite this, Elle pursued a solo career following DeBarge's success with Rhythm of the Night. His debut solo album, however, was lackluster, as he did no writing or producing, attributing his lack of involvement to a failed romance. Elle's loneliness without his siblings was palpable. Elle's struggles extended beyond his career. In 1986, he pleaded no contest to causing a misdemeanor disturbance after a woman accused him of attacking her. This incident marked the beginning of a series of legal troubles, including a 2007 arrest for possible domestic violence and a 2018 charge for felony vandalism following a confrontation involving a wrench. These incidents highlighted Elle's internal battles and erratic behavior, underscoring the profound impact of his tumultuous upbringing on his life and career. James DeBarge's life was equally tumultuous. His brief marriage to Janet Jackson in 1984 ended in annulment the following year, reportedly due to pressure from her manager and family disapproval. Rumors of a secret child from their union have persisted for decades, further complicating James's life. In 2016, James claimed on a reality show that he and Janet had a child, but DNA tests later disproved this claim, adding another layer of complexity to his troubled history. Substance abuse plagued the DeBarge family. Bunny DeBarge struggled with cocaine and pills, attributing her addiction partly to peer pressure and the trauma inflicted by their father. The family's ongoing professional woes were compounded by Motown's lack of concern for their emotional welfare. Chico and Bobby faced legal troubles for substance trafficking, with both serving prison sentences. Tommy and Randy also suffered from severe health issues linked to their lifestyles, further illustrating the pervasive impact of their difficult upbringing. Bobby DeBarge's story is particularly tragic. A talented artist, he struggled with substance abuse and was diagnosed with HIV while serving a prison sentence. His last years were marked by paranoia and declining health, culminating in his death from AIDS-related complications in 1995. His untimely death left a significant void in the music industry and among his loved ones. Chico DeBarge's attempts to carve his own path were fraught with difficulties. Despite a promising start, he was arrested for substance trafficking in 1988. He made a comeback in the late 90s but faced further setbacks, including a stabbing in 2003 and subsequent addiction to painkillers. His struggles underscored the persistent challenges faced by the DeBarge family. DeBarge fathered 12 children, but his issues led to periods of homelessness and imprisonment, causing him to miss significant portions of their lives. His 2010 Grammy nomination and attempts at sobriety offered hope, but legal troubles continued to plague him. L's journey highlighted the ongoing battle between his immense talent and the personal demons that overshadowed his career. David Ruffin. David Ruffin's life was a roller coaster of extraordinary talent and heartbreaking struggles. As a member of the Temptations, Ruffin's voice brought the group to new heights with unforgettable hits like My Girl and Ain't Too Proud to Beg. However, his personal life was marred by tragedy and challenges that cast a long shadow over his career. Born Davis Eli Ruffin in Wynot, Mississippi, on January 18, 1941, Ruffin faced adversity from a young age. After losing his mother early in life, he was raised by an abusive father who pushed him and his siblings to perform in churches, hoping to garner sympathy and support. Despite this harsh upbringing, Ruffin's vocal talent shone through, earning him and his brother Jimmy, who also became a successful singer, their father's favor. Joining the Temptations in 1964 was a significant turning point for Ruffin. His dynamic voice and stage presence quickly made him a standout member. However, the pressures of fame and personal demons began to take their toll. Ruffin struggled with substance abuse that had started in the 1960s and escalated over the years. By 1967, he had entered drug rehabilitation for the first time, but his substance use persisted. David Ruffin's behavior became increasingly erratic, leading to his dismissal from the Temptations in 1968. Even after leaving the group, he struggled with substance abuse while trying to sustain a solo career. His battles with addiction led to multiple arrests and several stints in rehabilitation throughout the 1980s. Friends and colleagues observed the devastating effects of his addiction, describing him as a shadow of his former self in his later years. The tragic end to Ruffin's tumultuous life came on June 1, 1991. After a visit to a crack house, he collapsed and was rushed to the hospital, where he was pronounced dead from a drug overdose. He was only 50 years old, Eddie Kendricks. Next, we turn to another soul icon whose life was marked by extraordinary accomplishments and deep personal struggles. Eddie Kendricks was born Eddie James Kendricks on December 17, 1939, in Union Springs, Alabama. Raised in Birmingham, he discovered his musical passion early, singing in the church choir with his close friend Paul Williams. Together, they formed a doo-wop group called the Cavaliers in 1955, which later became the Primes. This group eventually laid the foundation for the legendary Temptations. In 1961, Kendricks, Williams, and other members came together to form the Elgins, which was soon renamed The Temptations after signing with Motown Records. Kendricks' unique falsetto became one of the group's defining characteristics. He was the lead vocalist on The Temptations' first charted single, Dream Come True, and played a key role in many of their classic hits. However, the pressures of fame and creative differences with Motown founder Berry Gordy led Kendricks to leave the Temptations in 1970. Eddie Kendricks launched a solo career after leaving the Temptations, achieving early success with hits like Keep On Truckin' and Boogie Down. However, sustaining that success became increasingly challenging over time. His personal life was equally turbulent. He married Patricia and had a son with her, but their marriage ended in divorce in 1975. Kendricks also had 3 more children and was rumored to have had a tumultuous on-again, off-again relationship with Diana Ross. Health issues further complicated Kendricks' life. A longtime smoker, he developed lung cancer, which significantly impacted his ability to perform. Despite a brief reunion with The Temptations in 1982 and a collaborative album with David Ruffin in 1988, Kendricks' later years were marked by deteriorating health and diminishing fame. On October 5, 1992, Eddie Kendricks passed away at the age of 52 in Birmingham, Alabama, after a prolonged battle with lung cancer. Nevertheless, his musical legacy lives on through the timeless songs he helped create. Michael Jackson. "We are as close as two friends can be" is a line from Michael Jackson's song Music in Me, but it unwittingly reflects the deep sadness of his childhood. From the tender age of 5, Jackson was thrust into the spotlight with the Jackson 5. By the age of 13, he began his solo career, but at what cost? In the Michael Jackson tapes, he revealed his childhood deprivation, saying, "I wanted so badly to play in the park across the street because the kids were playing baseball and football, but I had to record. I sat there looking at the kids with tears running down my face, and I would say, 'I am trapped.'" This sense of isolation was so profound that he kept mannequins around him to combat his loneliness. Despite his desire for companionship, Jackson developed an intense fear of crowds when he wasn't performing. His father, Joe Jackson, cast a long, dark shadow over his life. Michael admitted to fainting and vomiting from fear when confronted by his father, who was known for his brutal physical discipline. In an attempt to reclaim his lost childhood, Jackson created Neverland Ranch and reportedly underwent plastic surgeries to resemble Peter Pan. Yet, his preoccupation with eternal youth may have hinted at deeper issues. Jackson faced serious allegations of child molestation in 1993 and 2003, casting a long shadow over his legacy. Since his death in 2009, the question remains, was the man in the mirror a reflection of genuine innocence or something far more troubling? LaToya Jackson. LaToya Jackson, often overshadowed by her more famous siblings, was described by AllMusic as perhaps the least talented of the Jackson clan. Unlike her brothers, she didn't become a Motown star, but the record label still played a role in her early fame. She started her career by singing backup for the Jackson 5 and even graced the stage in Las Vegas. LaToya's brief relationship with Motown star Bobby DeBarge led to the song "I Call Your Name," which was reportedly written about her. Although she was tangentially connected to Motown's star-studded world, she never quite fit into the inner circle of true stardom. This outsider status, largely due to her indirect association with Motown, contributed to her role as the black sheep in a famously dysfunctional family. Her reputation took a dramatic turn when People magazine labeled her the Jacksons' fallen angel. LaToya's decision to pose nude for Playboy and her public accusations against the Jackson family patriarch, Joe Jackson, significantly tarnished her image. In her autobiography, she alleged that Joe had pointed guns at his children to get their attention and had subjected her to severe physical abuse and molestation. Joe Jackson denied these allegations, attributing them to brainwashing by LaToya's then-husband and manager, Jack Gordon. Married to Gordon at 33 in an attempt to escape her troubled home life, LaToya found herself in an even more abusive relationship. Gordon subjected her to physical violence and then blamed her for his abusive behavior. Gordon passed away in 2005, but his impact on LaToya's life was profound and enduring. As we wrap up this exploration of the poignant and often tragic stories behind Motown's greatest stars, we hope you've gained a deeper understanding of their complex lives. To stay informed and continue discovering more in-depth stories about these iconic figures and others like them, make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss an update on our latest content. Until next time, bye for now.